The five-member committee set up by the Speaker of Parliament to investigate the cash for seats scandal involving the Trade Ministry will begin a session today. And ahead of that, Mamavi Owusu-Abuaje has been speaking to his spokesperson, lawyer Yaobwabing Asamoah, who is also the Member of Parliament for Adenta.
So you're concerned about
the terms of reference, the efficiency of the sittings, the quality of the evidence that we'll raise, and of course, the integrity of the report that we'll put before the House.
So how is it going to explain what the process, when you begin the sitting on Thursday morning, what happens? Who are you going to call before the committee?
Very well. Let me first look at the notion of the bipartisan committee. It's useful to the extent that both sides of the House are adequately represented. And therefore, any views, any ideas within the committee will be reasonably and adequately contested. So there's no question of any side either being overbearing or being manipulative. We are adequately represented. It's bipartisan. And I think it's also important that we commend the Speaker for having put it up, because we've had motions of this nature before and they've simply been thrown out. But the Speaker gave a very succinct reason. In the interest of the state, he wants everything that's supposed to have happened to come out in its proper and true state. So that's where we begin from. Now, the committee has met and has decided that it will meet in public. In public means we are going to sit and enable anybody who wants to listen, who wants to watch, be able to do so. The media houses who seek to televise or otherwise are entitled to deal with the Public Affairs Department of Parliament and do their accreditations. You know, it's in their department. But we will be sitting in public, in the open.
Okay.
Yes. It's for two reasons. Reason one, essentially, is that you want the public to participate because of the high interest. And of course, you also want the public to assess the value of the evidence being put out as against the information or material that has been put out before the probe was set up. Yes, it's very important. So in that way, you show up the integrity of the process. The more transparent it is, the more likely to be accepted as having been of the best quality. And so the public sitting. We are going to invite the members of Parliament who moved the motion, seconded. We are going to invite the Ministry of Trade, and we are going to invite the event organizers, which is the Millennium Excellence Award Group, and then any other parties relevant to the process. Indeed, when you have such a public sitting, you also have a window of opportunity for Joe public, but not necessarily curiosity seekers, but anybody who has been involved and believes they have information pertinent to this process. The committee will hear them and will assess the value of the information.
Do you have persons like that coming forward already, or you are
No.
now appealing to people who think they have something?
We are laying out the option. It's not necessarily an appeal. We are not insisting that people should come forward. But we are saying that that window is open for any public-spirited person who probably may have been involved in the process and believes that they have something to tell us that the other witnesses we are calling up may not be able to. Such persons can either write to us or come up to us if we assess the quality of what they want to put out and it's worth going forward through the process of question and answer. We'll give them that opportunity. Yes, so in a nutshell, that's what, God willing, we can start tomorrow.
Okay. Did I hear you say when you spoke to Evans Mensah that there won't be cross-examination? And I was wondering exactly what that means.
Evans is one hell of a lawyer. Cross-examination is adversarial. where you ask questions and you are allowed, the person being asked the questions is allowed to also respond and ask counter questions of the questioner. It's a quasi-legal process in our context. In the context of a court, that's very normal, because when you go to court, you give evidence, somebody gives evidence against you, then you are allowed to question that person on the evidence they have given against you. That's cross-examination. Yes. In our case, we are not a court. We are not sitting as a court. We are only sitting to find out exactly what happened. So it's facts we are looking at. What happened? When did it happen? How did it happen? And then when we assess all that, we may then try and determine why it happened that way. Yes, so it will not be an inquisitorial process. We are not seeking to criminalize anybody or pin anybody down to something that they have to defend themselves by cross-examining on.
Should we expect, though, that lawyers would come forward to speak for persons who have been invited?
It's always an option. Whenever any panel of any nature invites you, it's an option whether you want to come with a lawyer. But the lawyers don't speak. In our case, we will not have the lawyers speak to us on behalf of the people who come. We are eliciting facts. So the lawyers can advise those who come before us based on the questions to speak or not to speak. And then it's their option whether they choose to speak or not to speak to the facts. But the lawyers will not be addressing the panel as to whether or not their clients are going to say this or that. But the option is always open, that one brings in a lawyer, and a lawyer can advise you. But what we are seeking to do, essentially, is to, like I said, elicit facts. So, short of a fact incriminating you, which would mean that you believe you've done something criminal, I don't think we are going to have problems with that kind of situation.
So in all, how many people should we expect would come before this committee?
Not too many, but I can't, off the cuff, say how many. For example, we are inviting the Ministry of Trade. We don't know how many people.
But we know certain specific people have been mentioned. Are you inviting the ministry as a whole, or you are picking the people involved? For instance, we know a Deputy Trades Minister, Carlos Ahenkra, is deeply involved in this.
Well, that is what we've been told. That's what the public has been told. We are giving the option to the ministry to bring forward any relevant person who can help explain what has happened. We will not tie the ministry's hands and tell them bring this person or that person. In the case of the MPs, we are bringing the minority chief whip who moved the motion and the honorable member on the minority side who seconded the motion. So it's not an open-ended process. Yes. And like I said, for the ministry, we don't want to tie their hands. Let them come forward and bring the people who can help us. Millennium event organizers, the same situation. We are not asking individuals in there to come. We are asking the event organizer to come. And therefore, the event organizer will determine who is relevant to the process and who can help the process.
Are you using facts outside what you would get from these individuals? For instance, we know the organizers held a press briefing. Are you using what they said at this press briefing, for instance?
We will use all the information necessary to help us evaluate the situation. Because after picking up the facts, we have to make findings. And in making findings, any information that is useful to the process and can be justified as being relevant to helping resolve the situation will be useful to us.
Finally, what time is the sit-in? When are people expected, those who want to witness it, when are they expected to be seated, and when do we expect that a day's sit-in would end?
If 2018 is kind enough to us to eliminate Ghana time, we've scheduled ourselves for 10 a.m. Yes, and 10 a.m. we go as far as the witnesses for the day can take us. Yes, that's what we hope to do.
Okay, thank you very much. You still say that there's no cost to what you're doing, or you don't have an idea yet?
I haven't said that.
You don't have an idea yet?
I said that is for the household of Parliament. I am not a member of the household. There's a whole household. There's a parliamentary service who takes care of.
So, but can I just ask, as committee members, because you're officially on recess, you've been called back to sit and do this. What are your expectations? In terms
my
of
expectation is to do
in terms of compensation.
My expectation is to do a solid job, a very solid job. Yes, I believe the integrity of the House is at stake. I believe the integrity of the ministry is at stake. I believe the very integrity of the awards is at stake, because I assume we had a very successful awards. You're the media, and you would have watched it, you would have participated. And I believe the expatriate community at whom the awards were targeted enjoyed the recognition that they had. And therefore, in all of this, if there's a cloud that cannot be dispersed and explained, then it leaves a bitter taste in the mouth. It impacts other potential events for the future. It creates distrust. I think it's our job to restore trust. It's our job to restore the integrity of public trust. And that is what I'm focused on.